Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Guys, today I'm going to be giving you my 7 players on my do not draft list for the 2022 season. And I'm going to start with the first player on my list, and that is Tyler Lockett. Guys, I do not want anyone drafting Tyler Lockett this year. I see him going off the board in the 5th round in some mock drafts. This is absolutely ridiculous, guys. Tyler Lockett, now that Russell Wilson is not his quarterback, his fantasy value absolutely plummets. It is non-existent. This dude should not be drafted in fantasy football leagues this year. And people are basing all of their logic off the fact that Tyler Lockett used to give them huge week-winning performances. Guys, this is not going to happen without Russell Wilson being his quarterback. This is one of the best deep ball connections between a quarterback and a wide receiver that I've honestly ever seen in fantasy football. But the fact of the matter is, Tyler Lockett's completely big play dependent, and now he doesn't have the elite deep ball thrower in Russell Wilson throwing him the ball down the field anymore. So what kind of upside can he possibly have? He's not really going to be dominant inside the red zone due to being undersized. Now, I'm not knocking Tyler Lockett's talent. He's a good contested catch wide receiver, but at the end of the day, he's big play dependent. He's never going to be a red zone target hog due to being a little guy. And so if he doesn't offer you huge chunk play ability, he really doesn't offer you anything in fantasy football. And there's a 99% chance that the Seattle Seahawks do not acquire as good of a deep ball thrower as Russell Wilson to chuck Tyler Lockett the ball down the field. Therefore, I do not want Tyler Lockett being drafted in any fantasy leagues this year whatsoever. He is utterly worthless for fantasy now that Russell Wilson is gone. Next player on my list is going to be Josh Jacobs, guys. Josh Jacobs does not offer anything for fantasy anymore. Look, this dude has not been an efficient runner at all in the past 2 seasons. A flat 4 yards per carry last year, 4.0 yards per carry. The year before that, 3.9 yards per carry. This dude has not been efficient at all for fantasy football. He never scores receiving touchdowns. He's really not a very good pass-catching back and offers you almost no PPR upside. And now he's competing for Kenyon Drake with touches now. And despite Kenyon Drake missing some time last year, he still wasn't able to get over 1,000 rushing yards. He still wasn't able to get double-digit touchdowns. Now, if Kenyon Drake plays a full season, he's going to cut into Josh Jacobs' workload even more. And even more of a detriment to Josh Jacobs is going to be the acquisition of Davante Adams. Davante Adams is the biggest red zone target hog in all of fantasy football. And so Josh Jacobs is going to be severely limited as far as his touchdown upside now that Davante Adams, the elite red zone target hog Davante Adams, is on the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, Josh Jacobs scored 9 touchdowns last year. This is an okay touchdown number, but for a running back that you're taking in the 3rd or 4th round, you really want double-digit touchdowns. And the odds of him scoring more touchdowns this year, now that Davante Adams is on the team, and especially if Kenyon Drake plays a full healthy season, are very slim. It is almost certain that his touchdown numbers are going to go down. He offers you no PPR or pass-catching upside, and he doesn't run the ball efficiently. Literally none of the boxes are checked for this guy to be a good fantasy running back, and you want to avoid him at all costs. He's being drafted way too highly, and I wouldn't draft him unless he slips to the 7th round or later, which isn't going to happen because some idiot's going to reach for him in the 4th round just because of his ADP. Next player on my list is going to be Tyreek Hill. Now, a lot of people are going to be mad at me for this one because people are in love with Tyreek Hill. They've seen him be a dominant fantasy wide receiver for the past 4 or 5 seasons. I mean, this dude has been good in fantasy for quite some time now, but you got to keep in mind, a receiver's production is only as good as his quarterback allows him to be. He is going from Pat Mahomes to Tua Tagovailoa. This is an insane difference in quarterback ability. It's an insane difference in deep ball throwing ability. His big play upside is now severely capped because Tua really can't throw the deep ball. And his touchdown upside is naturally going to be lower because there is no way that the Dolphins offense, no matter how many good players they acquire, are ever going to be as good as the Chiefs offense for the majority of Tyreek Hill's career on the Chiefs. That offense was super elite, giving Tyreek Hill awesome weekly touchdown upside, and he's never going to have that touchdown upside again. So the big playability is limited now. The touchdown upside is limited now, and he's just not going to be as good for fantasy as he has been in the past, and he's going to be significantly overdrafted this year. I mean, I see people taking Tyreek Hill in the 2nd round in almost every mock draft, and this is just an absolute ridiculous reach for Tyreek Hill considering the insane downgrade that he's had at quarterback. Guys, do not touch Tyreek Hill this year. He is not going to be good for fantasy. I wouldn't touch him unless he slips way later than the 2nd round, which isn't going to happen. So just make your plan to avoid Tyreek Hill altogether in the draft. Next player on my list is going to be Dalvin Cook. Guys, do not draft Dalvin Cook in the 1st round. Please don't do this. Every single year, Dalvin Cook goes in the first round, and it's absolutely ridiculous because this guy never finishes a fantasy season. He's always going to miss 4 or 5 games at the absolute minimum. In his best fantasy season, he wasn't even available for the fantasy playoffs, and there's a significantly high likelihood that he gets a severe injury and is out for the entire season. So considering that this is probably the most injury-prone running back in all of fantasy football, the fact that he goes off the board every year in the first round is laughable to me. You can draft a player with just as high of a ceiling that's going to get almost just as much volume and overall workload and is a significantly safer player. One that comes to mind right off the bat is Najee Harris. But there's others. The fact of the matter is, there are running backs that are going to give you just as high of a ceiling as Dalvin Cook and don't come with nearly as high of an injury risk. So fade Dalvin Cook. Do not draft Dalvin Cook, guys. He's going to ruin your team because he's going to get hurt, and then you're not going to be able to play your first-round draft pick because he's going to be out for 5 or more games, and it's just a waste of a first-round pick, guys. Do not draft Dalvin Cook. Next player on my list is going to be Damien Harris. Now, a lot of guys are big on Damien Harris because, well, he had 15 touchdowns last year. He was the sixth highest touchdown scorer in the NFL last year. I mean, there were a few guys ahead of him, but he had the 6th most touchdowns of any position player in the NFL. This is very impressive, but what we have to keep in mind is that his touchdown numbers are probably going to go down a little bit, considering the fact that this has really become a split backfield with him and Ramondre Stevenson. We saw in the second half of last year that Ramondre Stevenson is pretty much the 1B to Damien Harris. So he's going to cut into Damien Harris's touchdown upside a little bit. Now, will Damien Harris still be the primary goal line back for this team? Yes, absolutely. There is no doubt that he is going to be the primary goal line back. So he's going to score more touchdowns than Ramondre Stevenson. But in my opinion, it makes more sense to fade Damien Harris and wait for Ramondre Stevenson because Ramondre Stevenson is going to get the majority of the passing work. He's going to give you pretty good PPR upside because I see him being a huge pass-catching back this year, considering the fact that he is a very good pass-catching back, and Damien Harris is not known to be a pass-catching back whatsoever. So the PPR upside is there for Ramondre Stevenson. He's going to steal at least some of Damien Harris's touchdowns, and they both averaged 4.6 yards a carry last year, so their overall running efficiency was exactly the same. Damien Harris hasn't really shown to necessarily be a significantly better rusher than Ramondre Stevenson from a pure talent standpoint. So considering the fact that you can look at these numbers and tell that they're pretty similar in rushing ability, and Ramondre Stevenson is the better pass-catching back, really the only edge that Damien Harris has is his touchdown upside, and we know that touchdowns can be kind of a volatile number and really be unreliable in fantasy football. So it makes sense to fade Damien Harris in the 5th, 6th, 7th round where he's going off and draft Ramondre Stevenson in the 11th round. It's a significantly better value. You're getting a running back that's going to outproduce Damien Harris on certain weeks, and you're getting him like 50 spots later in the draft. So just fade Damien Harris early and draft Ramondre Stevenson. Next player on my list is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Guys, this is going to be one of the most overdrafted players in fantasy football this year, and a big reason for this is because he won a lot of people their leagues last year, and you tend to fall in love with players that win you your league, and I understand. If you got Amon-Ra St. Brown off the waiver wire late in the season last year, and he came in and just absolutely tore it up for you and won you your league, your first instinct is going to be draft Amon-Ra St. Brown. But guys, keep in mind, every year in the NFL is different. Last year, DeAndre Swift was hurt, and TJ Hawkinson was hurt when Amon-Ra St. Brown went off for all that production. The only other pass-catching option on the Lions at the time was Khalif Raymond. Guys, Khalif Raymond, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to dominate when his competition is Khalif Raymond. But we're going to see the Lions offense favor TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift as far as their pass catchers because these are the best pass catchers on the team. Now, will Amon-Ra St. Brown earn an increased target share due to how good he was late in the season last year? Yes, absolutely. But his touchdown upside is going to be limited. His overall PPR upside is going to be limited as long as TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift are in the lineup. So drafting him in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, like he's going in a lot of drafts, is really just not a good idea. If he happens to slip to the 8th round, I would draft him then, but he's going to be significantly overdrafted because anybody that had him win their league last year is going to reach for him in the draft, and I just wouldn't do this, guys. Fade Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not going to be as good as long as Hawkinson and Swift are healthy. Next player on my list, final player, is going to be Hunter Renfroe, guys. Don't draft Hunter Renfroe. We saw him have a good season last year, but Darren Waller was hurt for a lot of the season last year, and they hadn't yet gotten Davante Adams. This team is going to be led by Darren Waller and Davante Adams. These guys are going to eat up all the targets. Guys, Davante Adams had a 32% target share in the Packers offense. This is the biggest target hog in all of fantasy football. Darren Waller is a huge tight end target hog, so he, as long as he stays healthy, is going to eat up a lot of the targets. So naturally, Hunter Renfroe is going to get a lot less opportunity share, and even worse, his touchdown upside is going to be significantly decreased, considering the fact that Davante Adams is the biggest red zone target hog of any wide receiver in fantasy football. So the touchdown numbers are going to be down for Renfroe. The overall yardage is going to be down for Renfroe. The maximum number of receptions and overall PPR upside is going to be limited for Hunter Renfroe. So it's pretty simple, guys. Fade Hunter Renfroe in the draft. The other pass catchers are going to dominate on this team, and you don't want anything to do with him. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video, and I will catch you later.